Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today we're going to look at something that is kind of hard to talk about with a straight face. If you're looking at the images and thinking, how am I supposed to take this knife seriously? It's really hard. I'm going to admit that to you right off the bat. This is a silly concept, but it's fun. We all need to be a little silly in our lives every now and then. This is the Stabnana. Even has Nana in the serial number, the model number here for the knife. Let's just go ahead and get into it without any further ado and talk about the ridiculousness of this whole thing. This is the packaging that you'll be receiving. I'm sure there's stuff down here in the bottom. I have not opened it up to see that yet. There is your pack of flavor-sealed chiclets. And you do get you actually get a COA card with this. Check that out. Pretty darn cool. And then we have the out the front lube from Heretic. Let's get those bad boys out of the way and talk about the elephant in the room. It is hard to deny that this is ridiculous. It is silly. It is stupid. And a lot of people are going to think that about any kind of themed knife. Based on their ROC design, or I don't know if they call it ROC or ROC. I'm going with actually saying it, which is ROC. And that is a curved out the front. And I guess a banana-themed knife was a pretty logical step in the age where silly ideas and memes actually inspire knife designs these days, like the Desert Warrior donut knives and the like. You're essentially buying a limited production finish variant of the ROC that looks like a banana. And you're paying an extra $100 for that unique theme. It's cool. It's fun. It's funny. It's an interesting idea. And honestly, I'm sure that there are plenty of people that own one of the ROCs that have held it and somebody went, why is it banana shaped? And at that point, I guess when you hear that enough, you're going to go, I think somebody should make one that looks like a banana. And that is precisely what they did. So think about this. You'll spend $400 for a ROC, which is a pretty standard price point for an entry-level model into a high-end company like Microtech and Heretic. And the Stabnana design is $500. And for those of you thinking, why would anybody spend $500 on this? That is a ridiculous amount of money. And why would you spend $100 extra for just this yellow Cerakote, I'm assuming it's Cerakoted, this yellow Cerakoted theme? Think about this. Microtech did a funny little themed version of a Troodon or a combat Troodon last year, 2 years ago. My God, time just has flown by. Of that it looked like the yellow iced tea can, right? Remember when that guy leveled that dude in the convenience store by bashing him in the face with that iced tea can? Come on, get it. Drop it. Well, Microtech thought it was so funny that they designed one of their knives with a theme that looked like it, and it went from being a $450 knife to a $1,200 knife. And what I like about this is a $400 knife that they ran away with a cool, funny theme and only charged $100 more. You are getting into exclusivity because this is a serialized limited production. My particular example is number 33. So they're not going to be readily available for very, very long. They are out there right now. You can go to the special Stabnana website that Heretic put up that will show you all of the dealers that have them. Now, I just happened to see these in time, and I immediately texted Dave over at the Hollow Grind, and I just wanted to kind of check on the pricing and availability because I really wasn't sure how expensive they were going to be. And I thought TJ, Tony Marfione Jr., would have taken a page out of his dad's book and charged a ridiculous amount of money for this themed variant of one of his knives, and luckily he didn't. TJ's a really, really, really good dude. I've had a chance to meet him a few times and talk to him many, many other times. He's a great guy, has a good brain in his head. He's got a good brain for business as well, and has created a pretty damn cool brand. And what I got to say about that is more power to you, good on you, and I'm so happy for your success. He has released some really, really cool knives over the years. And honestly, the base idea of this knife, even taking away the banana portion of it, is a really, really cool knife. So anyway, I texted Dave and I'm like, hey, what's going on with this thing? How much are they and when are they going to come out? And he says, hey, they're $500 and I've already pre-sold one of the two I had coming in. So I went ahead and paid for the other one just so it would turn around fast and get to me. And as usual, Dave shipped super crazy fast. I had it in my hands just a couple of days later. And that's how I was able to upload the short when I did. And as far as I know, mine was the first Stabnana on YouTube. That's why I named the short that. And I really haven't seen anybody else talk about getting one of these yet. So not like it's a big deal to have the first knife of anything, but when it's something cool and fun that we're all going to enjoy together, and it's a limited kind of idea, it is kind of nice to be one of the first to have them and bring them out and share them with your audience. But for all of your other Microtech and Heretic needs, definitely check out the Hollow Grind. Amazing website with great prices. They never mark things up to a ridiculous amount where that you feel like they're taking advantage of you. And you know, on these limited out the fronts, a lot of companies, a lot of websites will do that. And Dave's just never been like that. And I've been shopping with Dave for a number of years. I'd say probably, gosh, what's it been, Dave? 8 or 9 years, maybe 10 years at this point. I used to live basically right down the road from him when I lived in South Florida. And Dave has even been nice enough to hand deliver knives to me to my house. That's how cool he is. Now, what is the ROC?
Welcome to the ROC.
It's a curved hawkbill style of out-the-front automatic, which is, in my opinion, a dramatic departure from the typical straight-bodied, straight-bladed kind of out-the-front knives that we're all familiar with. Look how reliable this is. When I first saw the ROC design come out, I'm like, how are they going to make that reliable? Because the whole thing is curved and it's working on a curved track, I'm going to assume. And maybe it's only a point of contact in one or two spots. I really don't know. I have not opened this up to see. But it's a really cool design on its own. And I have tried even going super fast to get this to jump off the track and be unreliable. And I haven't been able to. Now, it's got about the same amount of blade play as any normal out the front does. They did a really good job making the mechanics of this actually work. I was really, really surprised when I pulled it out of the box and started playing with it, and I was like, it feels as solid as any other out the front. Now, it doesn't have that crazy, super hard thrust that like the Hydra does or some other much more expensive and crazier knives do. And keep in mind, this is a double action, meaning the sliding switch here performs two actions. It will open the blade and it will retract the blade. On a single action, a lot of times you'll have a significantly stronger firing blade because they only have one spring to deal with because you're releasing that blade, boom, and then you're retracting it manually. And this is using a spring in both directions. Anyway, is it a keeper? I don't know. Sometimes I love a fun gimmicky theme. Sometimes the novelty wears off quickly. I got a Desert Warrior donut knife from the very first drop that they did. I bought it from somebody who had bought it from the drop. And I thought it was a funny idea. It was cool enough at the time. Nobody had ever done anything like that before. Remember, that was the very first time they had dropped. And it just wasn't cool enough for me to still enjoy the gag. And It wasn't a high quality knife on any level, so it wasn't nice enough for me to hold on to. So I sold it a week or two later for exactly what I paid for it. This one, however, is a quality knife all the way around. This ROC is a nice quality knife. And if you're a collector of out-the-front knives, you're probably going to enjoy this a hell of a lot. And add to that you've got the cool banana theme. If you think bananas are cool, then it's got a cool banana theme. Still, while I want to continue to laugh and enjoy it for what it is in a few months, I don't know, probably doubtful. But for now, I'm glad I have it. I think it's cool. It is very, very different from everything else out there on the market. What I wish they would have done is take it a further step, and instead of doing the black DLC blade, maybe Cerakoting the blade an off-white would have looked really good, because it would have looked a little bit more banana-like. Or maybe even, I don't know that I would have continued it in yellow, but maybe an off-white, an ivory would have been nice, just to kind of give it the full spectrum of the theme. They have a lot of oil in this thing, by the way. There's nothing I can do about keeping that dry and keeping that clean, because every time I retract it, it picks up a little bit more oil. So anyway, there you have it. That is the banana knife, the Stabnana from thehollowgrind.com. Let me give you some specs on this bad boy. Get that out of the way. Looking at an overall length of 7 3/4 inches, so it is on the smaller side of out the fronts. Blade length of 3.18 inches, 130 thou thick on the blade stock. And it is a single edge hawkbill. DLC finish on the blade. They're not listing how they've done the finish on the frame, but with it being aluminum, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I'm assuming, it's my personal assumption, that it's Cerakote. It feels like Cerakote. It has that feeling to it when you're touching it. So I'm going to assume that's what it is. Handle length of 4.68 inches and a weight of only 4 ounces. Now, there's always good and bad. If you've watched my reviews long enough, you know that nobody really gets a free pass. It's not that sharp, unfortunately. It has an edge, and it's decently sharp, but that's kind of a bummer, because Heretic has always delivered a good edge in my experiences with them. This is the 3rd or 4th Heretic knife that I've owned, and I was kind of hoping for it to be a little bit sharper. But the build is solid and the finish is well executed. So overall, I think it's a well-made knife. So nicely done, in fact, that I think I'm going to search out a standard ROC and a more standard configuration for actual carry and use. Those of you that are interested in sharpening your own knives, but you're not a quote-unquote professional, may find a hawkbill from any brand to be quite challenging, and this is going to be no different. Now, there is a nice big sharpening notch right there, but yeah, you're dealing with a reverse curved blade that's going to be a bit more of a challenge for you to master sharpening. And I think perhaps someone at the Heretic facility also found that to be quite challenging when they went to put the edge on this. I think if TJ had done it himself, I think it probably would have come out razor sharp. Like I said, every knife I've ever owned from Heretic, whether it was touched by Tony or not, it's always been sharp and always been fantastic. So it's only a slight bummer. And as a matter of fact, I may even try just stropping it, just to see if that livens up the edge a little bit. I'm not going to sit down and bring it out to my grinder and do a full-on resharpening of it, because again, I don't know that this is a permanent part of my collection. I'm very certain it's going to be sold at some point very soon for what I paid for it. So there's no sense in putting a new edge on it, because a lot of collectors are very picky and they want an original factory edge, and I understand that. The pocket clip is very, very useful, very well done. It's got a lot of tension to it, by the way. It's a very strong clip. And for those that don't know, this is the Begg ball design that Todd Begg had created and perfected. And he has given permission to a number of makers to use this design. And it looks really good. This kind of split clip design looks very, very good, or skeletonized design looks very good on the back side of the knife, because it doesn't detract away a lot from the overall aesthetics of the knife. I do like the fact that the action is pretty darn easy. While it does take a concentrated effort in order to deploy the blade, meaning it's not going to open accidentally, you're not going to open it as you're putting it in your pocket or anything. It's not like it's breaking your finger to get it in or out. They've done a really good job putting the right amount of tension on it where it's not laborious, but it doesn't feel unsafe in any way. So that's my thoughts on the Stabnana. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you go over to my other channel where I keep all of the reviews as a basic overview to about 5 minutes or less, you might enjoy that one as well. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me as always, and I'll see you on the next video.